What is up, everybody? Happy Monday. It is April 7th. It's Denise Salcedo here with Santi Zap, and we are here to talk some WWE RAW. Of course, we're on the road to WrestleMania. Santi, dang, where do I begin? We had an interesting segment, several interesting segments today on Monday Night Raw, but overall, how'd you feel about the show?
This was one of my favorite Monday Night Raws in a really long time. I think I just like the fact that it had a quick pace start and not a 30-minute main event segment like we've had in the last couple of weeks with John Cena and Cody Rhodes. I just like the bang, bang, bang nature of the start of the show and saving kind of like the more long-winded main event conversational points to the very end. I like the change of pace personally. I really like this episode.
Dude, I was kind of mentioning that a little earlier that I didn't look up at the clock really at all today. And it was 1 second. Hey, we're an hour in. The next thing you know, I look up at the clock when Paul Heyman and Seth were on, and I noticed there was only 8 minutes left to the show. And I'm like, oh shit, I didn't even realize that we were already towards the closing of the
Yeah.
show. And I didn't even realize that they had promoted Seth Rollins and CM Punk for tonight because they didn't, right, Santi? I
I
thought I
didn't
was
see
alone
it.
on this.
I didn't see it.
They didn't because I was on WWE.com this morning when I was creating the stream and I was getting ready for the podcast, and they didn't have anything about Seth and CM Punk. And I thought, that's interesting. And then a couple of hours, I had the page up on WWE.com and they were finally promoting that they were actually going to be on the show. And I'm like, oh, that's interesting that they added that so late.
Yeah, for me it was like I was just surprised right off the start of the show when they showed Paul Heyman arriving in the arena. Like I had no idea. It was a pleasant surprise for me.
Yeah, same. All right, so let's go ahead and get into that. I think we need to start there with this closing angle because, as we all know, on Friday Night SmackDown, we officially found out what the favor was, and CM Punk wants Paul Heyman in his corner. And poor Paul Heyman, with as much as his heart was breaking, had to break the bad news over to Roman Reigns. And so here tonight, we get Paul Heyman goes out there, and he's talking about how he's going to be loyal no matter what to Roman Reigns and to CM Punk, and just because he's loyal to these two guys doesn't mean he's gonna, be disloyal to them, right? Obviously, you can't do that. Call BS on that right away. Whatever. Seth Rollins goes out there, and Seth Rollins cuts a pretty long promo. The gist of it was him trying to prove that both CM Punk and Roman Reigns do not give a damn about Paul Heyman, and that's what he was trying to tell him the entire time. This finally led to Seth Rollins trying to hit and berate Paul Heyman until CM Punk finally, after a long time, ran out there to help out Paul Heyman. But Seth Rollins ends up getting him with a stomp and takes out CM Punk. And then he teases like he's going to hit Paul Heyman with the stomp, then doesn't, and then says, now you owe me a favor. And that is how we close out Monday Night Raw.
Somebody needs to tell like these people that this is not how favors work. I can't like imagine like I didn't stab you in the neck, so now you owe me a favor. Like that's just not how that works. I'm sorry, that's just not the societal norms of banking favors. You know what's funny? I thought for a second Paul Heyman dodged that. I was like, damn, Paul, with the ultra instinct movement there from Paul Heyman, but I guess that it was Paul Heyman didn't actually dodge it. That Seth Rollins just pulled back. Listen, I really like this promo because it pointed out a lot of things that fans have pointed out in the last several months, in the past kind of like 12 months, that have been, if you don't acknowledge them, are technically plot holes. Like, why wouldn't Roman come back to help Paul Heyman when he was being terrorized by Solo Sikoa and by Jacob Fatu and he got killed in Madison Square Garden? Like, why wouldn't Roman ever come back? And I thought that they were just gonna like put it under the rug and it was just a technicality. We're just gonna pretend like that never happened. And I'm glad that they brought it up. I'm glad that they brought up why didn't CM Punk come in to help. I'm glad they brought up all of these things that if you are a wrestling fan that wants to appreciate and believe in long-term storytelling, those things would have always been plot holes in the current story that we've got going on. But now that they got brought up, now they're being used to gaslight individually Heyman into I guess, recognizing that his relationships with Roman Reigns and CM Punk aren't as strong as he actually believes. In fact, I'm seeing people in my chat saying that they see Seth Rollins maybe walking away with the wise men. I don't think that that's going to be the case. I don't think that that's a good combo or a good fit. But it's getting people talking about where Paul Heyman's allegiances are lying. And I feel like this feud really needed this ultimately, because a lot of people were kind of bummed that this didn't have any stakes, or that this wasn't going to be, winner goes to the main event of WrestleMania or anything like that. But it does feel like there are like human stakes involved in like the personal relationships and what goes on with those personal relationships after WrestleMania once the dust settles. I thought this was really good stuff.
So there is a lot. So, okay, oh my gosh, I don't even know where to begin. There was so much to get into. So, first of all, I'm so glad that you mentioned the part about with Seth Rollins bringing up some of those holes, right? In the storyline of, hey, Roman didn't come back. Do you remember when Paul Heyman told CM Punk, take me with you a long time ago? That's another thing that they could bring back to kind of, prove Seth Rollins's point. I thought that they kind of needed this in the sense, to me, all of this kind of felt like this was them saying, hey, we hear you loud and clear that there's a big feeling in the room that Seth Rollins is the third wheel, that this doesn't really need Seth Rollins. Given what we saw in SmackDown with the people literally not giving a damn, and granted, of course, it was in Chicago and they only care about CM Punk, but quite frankly, they did not give a damn about that Seth Rollins Roman Reigns promo from Friday night. And to me, that was pretty telling that, okay, Seth Rollins really is the third wheel on this story, right? And so today, with him kind of getting in there and trying to get into the mind of Paul Heyman, to me, that was them telling us, hey, you know what? Seth Rollins does kind of matter in this storyline. And now he's, using these mind games to try to get into Paul Heyman's head. But here's the other thing, though. I'm so freaking happy that you mentioned the thing about the favor, because I had the exact same reference point where you don't do that. Like, how do you mean you owe him a favor? To me, this isn't justified. To me, there is no justifying Paul Heyman owing Seth Rollins a favor. And I get it. It's that's just them trying to get a fast one in on this. But to me, if Paul Heyman does go out and align himself with Seth Rollins as a quote unquote favor, I go BS on that.
No, that'd be lame.
That would be super lame, super freaking lame. And that was literally my reaction. When Seth Rollins said that, I was like, lame. I'm sorry, but that's not how favors work. And then on top of that, this has been going in an ongoing rumor. I know your chat mentioned it. A lot of people here in the chat are mentioning it. It's sort of been brewing now for the last couple of weeks, where people are saying, hey, what if Paul Heyman does walk out with Seth Rollins? So Santi, that's my question to you. I know you say you don't think it's going to happen, but let's say it did. How would you feel about that?
I mean, it would be crazy. Like, I'm sure, like, I want to right now be like, no, that's so dumb, that'd be lame. But I bet that like when it's happening in the moment, I'll probably be marking out and losing my mind. But like just on paper at face value, it doesn't feel like that makes any sense whatsoever. So I kind of want to say that it would be corny. But again, I know my lizard brain of a wrestling fan will probably love it in the moment.
It's kind of like when John Cena turned heel. I remember people were pitching that, and I was like, nah, John Cena's not going to turn heel. Nah, I'm not interested. Nah. I want him to do his greatest hits tour, blah, blah, blah. And then he actually does turn heel, and I'm like, woo!
You go, son of a bitch, I'm in.
Yeah, son of a bitch, I'm in. I'm sold. Exactly that. So here's the thing, though. I don't think I'd be sold on that. I would be kind of upset. I feel like the story, and I know everyone's going to hate me for this, but to me, my interest, I'm speaking specifically for me, Santi. For me specifically, I care specifically about Roman and CM Punk. This is the story that I want to see continue furthered along. This is the story that I'm hoping leads to a one-on-one matchup with Roman and CM Punk. So if Paul Heyman ends up with Seth Rollins, I kind of feel like that is keeping the story very, very crowded when I want the spotlight to be specifically on these two guys.
Yeah, I will agree that the feud once the dust settles from WrestleMania and we're moving on from this triple threat match, the feud that most intrigues me out of these three would be Punk versus Roman Reigns continued after WrestleMania. And then having Paul Heyman walk away with Seth Rollins, I think would kind of remove kind of like the most juicy, delicious fruit that feud would have, which is Paul Heyman's. So I don't want to see Paul Heyman being removed from the equation by joining Seth Rollins. I also just don't think it's the correct call. I do like the addition of Paul Heyman because there were a lot of people prior to SmackDown saying that this kind of feels like a weird dynamic of a triple threat because there's beef between Seth and Roman, there's beef between Seth and Punk, but there's nothing bad between Roman and Punk. Well, we got it. Now we've got a proper trifecta of hatred between all three of these guys, which is why this favor, in my opinion, worked, which is why I'm happy that Paul Heyman is in the equation. But I also think that this was a necessary promo as well to help create the will he, won't he, who will he side with, who will he betray, will he side with Roman, will he side with Punk. I like that they added this promo because it adds that wrinkle to the conversation.
Yeah, they needed that. I think they needed that. That was kind of what we saw in a couple of segments tonight where there were some things, some personality traits, some segments that were needed to further certain characters. But with that being said, we do got a couple of super chats. Let me get into them. This is from Sucho here, who says, my match of the night was Lyra versus Bayley. They put on a banger. Well, let's talk about that. Let's get into that. So Lyra versus Bayley for the Women's Intercontinental Championship. Here's the thing. Santi, I had pitched this whole idea last week, and boy, do I have egg on my face because it did not happen. I was so sure that Bayley was going to defeat Lyra, and I was wishfully hoping that we would see Roxanne Perez confront Bayley immediately afterwards. None of those things happened, not once, but we did get a hard-fought match here. Both of these girls kind of took some brutal spots, some brutal bumps during this match, Santi. How'd you feel about the match and the outcome?
That was one of my favorite matches of the year. I thought that was like legitimately brilliant. I feel like the biggest crime to this match was not having this in London last week. This should have been in front of that European crowd. London loves Bayley. We already know this. And Lyra Valkyria is from that neck of the woods, like that part of the world. Like it would have just made so much more sense. If you were going to have this long of a banger of a match, it deserved to be in front of a crowd that was going to elevate this and make the match feel more special. Here's the thing, Denise. I thought that match was so good that I was mad that it happened on Raw. I'm like, why didn't we just do that? Why didn't we just build a Mania program if we were going to have a match this fucking good? Like, if you were going to allow them to just cook like that, why didn't we do this at WrestleMania? Now I have to buy that they're going to try and be a tag team on Friday. By the way, that was weird, announcing them as a tag team before this Intercontinental Championship match even happened. That was to me stupid. That to me was stupid. And I literally turned an eye at that. I'm like, why are you doing that? I'm just glad that this match was as good as I thought it was going to be. I'm like, this has a potential to be a special match, and it truly was. I really like the ending. I know that Lyra keeps beating these veterans with roll-ups, but I think it works. She is a rookie, technically still within her first year in the WWE. So her beating like a veteran, like a Bayley in this manner, using, wits and technical work as opposed to like taking her out and keeping her down for a proper pin count. I think this was the right route. But more than anything, I thought this match was absolutely freaking brilliant. Lyra Valkyria is quickly rising to be one of my favorite in-ring performers that the WWE has.
She's such a good wrestler. I mean, I feel she was one of the people. So when I watch NXT, Santi, I don't know about you in terms of how long it takes you to like a wrestler, right? I think sometimes you see a wrestler first match and you're like, you know what? I like this guy. Sometimes it takes 2 matches. Sometimes it takes 3 matches, whatever. Sometimes it takes way more than that. Lyra, for me, was one of the fastest people on NXT that the second I saw her to not very long after, I was sold on Lyra. And I'm thinking, this is the girl, I'm rooting for her, etc. Right now, the only thing, and we've talked about this before, the only thing that's sort of been missing for her on Raw is just kind of like the character element aspect of it, having her connect a little bit more with the crowd. But she is a standout. For the Royal Rumble, Santi, I had one of my friends who's a casual wrestling fan and tunes in every now and then. They tuned in for the Rumble. And their response when I asked them, like, hey, what are some of the matches that you like really liked, or some of the people that impressed you? They were like, oh, in the women's rumble, it was Lyra Valkyria. And I thought, oh shit, like you were most impressed by Lyra, and that was their pick. And I was pretty surprised by that because I wasn't necessarily expecting that answer. And so that should kind of show you that she's going to get over with the fans in a different way, and that is through her pro wrestling. That is how she is connecting with the fans. But I do agree with you, when they announced this, they were going to be a tag team together in the gauntlet. I thought that took away from the anticipation a little bit of this matchup here, because I'm thinking, why are you announcing them as a tag team when they have a match coming up together, and a title match at that for Raw? So I thought that was very, very interesting. And so now here's the thing, looking at the gauntlet, the obvious choice to win this is Bayley and Lyra, right? To head up Liv and Raquel, or do you see it being any other team?
Any other team would feel so underwhelming, but okay. Any other team feels underwhelming. Lyra and Bayley still doesn't make sense to me. It just doesn't make sense to me. It feels like they are rushing a women's tag team match for the sake of putting the women's tag team titles on the card. Hell, I don't even think it's for the sake of putting the women's tag titles on the card. I feel like they owe Liv Morgan one, and they want to make sure they get Liv Morgan on the card with how good she has been as a performer over the past 12 months, and they're finding that this is kind of the only way that we can get her on the card. But I'm not excited at all about the prospect of it being Lyra and Bayley.
Right. Like there are so many different matchups you could have done. Hell, you could have done Liv versus Lyra. You could have done Lyra versus Bayley on there. Hell, you could have done Liv versus Bayley. I mean, there's so many different directions
Triple
that you could have gone in.
IC title match would have been perfect.
There you go. So there was other options here where this kind of feels a little bit like, why are these two girls teaming? Why is she going for the tag team titles when she's already IC champion? It's a lot happening in that story. But hey, that does not take away from this incredible match, though, that we did see between Lyra and Bayley. They did kill it there. I was bummed out when the match ended. I was like, no, don't tap, don't tap. Please, no, let's keep this going. We got CJ here who says, this show highlights why it's great having Seth in this feud. Love the OTC, but even in Mania season, he barely shows up. Seth and Punk left to carry. And again, with CM Punk, it was a little bit different when he was out due to injury, and they still made that whole thing work. Everyone said that they announced Roman Reigns for next week's Raw, Santi. I actually didn't even catch that until people in the chat brought it up. So I'm kind of thrilled at the idea that Roman will be apparently on Raw next week. So that's something to look forward to. Thank you so much, CJ. We got Bob Ross Jr. who says, hello, Denise and Santi. I got fired today because I got caught watching a recent Santi video in the fitting room. I was totally not hiding. Please tell me you legitimately did not get fired.
I hope if you did that it was a good video. I hope you left a like and a comment. All right, make sure you're subscribed. Just double check.
That's amazing. Bob, thank you so much for the super chat. We got Gio here who says, after watching Raw today, Denise, every time I send you a super chat, you owe me a favor. Honestly.
That's how it feels, right?
No, I was saying this earlier, Santi, I'm just going to go around and like threatening to punch people. And every time I don't punch them, I'll be like, you owe me a favor. That is what I'm going to be doing now from now on. We got a very, very generous super chat from McTaru. McTaru, wow, that is so kind of you. Very, very kind of you. Says, hey, Denise, how are you? I'm super late coming here and blame my sleep before Raw. Guess I'll watch a replay. Also, good to see you and Santi. And I heard you walked away pissed from your computer during AEW. Hope you're okay, Denise. All right, well, let me explain that one really quick. Santi, I don't know if you caught yesterday's show, but it was during the Chris Jericho Bandito match. They did a bit where Jericho hits Bandito with a bat, and Bandito 1, 2, 3 loses the match, and mind you, his mask was on the line. And I thought, holy dang, like they're really gonna take off Bandito's mask. Santi, I was so pissed, I walked out. And I've never walked out of anything, but I thought the utter and complete disrespect. And then I came back, and by the time I came back, Aubrey was out there and was like telling the refs, hey, like he cheated, blah, blah, blah. But they don't often do that. Like that only happens sporadically where someone cheats and stuff like that. So congratulations, they got me there. They successfully made me really upset during that moment, but I'm so glad they did not take off Bandito's mask.
You weren't the only one to walk out. I actually saw people walking out during the Young Bucks part of the show.
Oh yeah, that's the controversial part of the
Ugh.
evening. I kept telling everybody every single week some crazy shenanigans were gonna happen, and there it was, unfortunately. But yeah, it was the bandito part for me. Mitaro, thank you so much for the super chat. We got Harry Potter here who says, "Why is the women's intercontinental champion in a tag match at WrestleMania?" Howie, that was the same question I had.
Great question.
And we don't have an answer for you, Howie. I'm so sorry. Thank you for the
Nothing.
super chat. We got Sin City Saint who says Santi now owes Bob Ross Jr. a favor and a job, apparently. Thank you, Sin City Saint. We got David Primero who says Braun is a machine and smoking minus the beard. All right, we need to get into that because that was one of the
spear. Oh my, Denise, that was the funniest spear I've ever seen in my life. I was cackling in laughter at how he launched himself like a freaking World War II torpedo at Carlito.
I've never seen a spear like that before. He went head first into this man. And what was really cool was I thought that the spear was already going to look special just based off of like they zoomed out. You got the big long run, but I wasn't expecting it to look even as good as it did. So here's my question, Santi. Which spear was better, or which one was, I guess, worse in the sake of pain? Was it the one that he did to Speed, or was it the one that he did to Carlito today?
I think the Carlito one's better. I think he jumped 20 feet away from Carlito and still managed to reach him. Look, the Speed one is way more devastating because Speed's like 150 pounds. And listen, it's 1A, 1B, you know, they're both there. You pick one or the other. I wouldn't be mad which one you go with, but that Carlito one, good God.
That's how I was thinking. I was thinking, okay, Speed's not a wrestler, so it kind of like poor kid. He was thrown in there. One brutal moment for him, right? But dang, though, I've never seen Braun Breaker. Like no feet were touching the ground when he went and he hit that spear. It was magnificent. And that happened after Penta defeated Dominic Mysterio. But here's the big thing to get into in regards to that. So not only did we see Penta defeat Dominic, but a big announcement was made before Raw actually began, and that was that we did see Adam Pearce make the announcement that we're going to see Finn Balor, Braun Breaker, Penta, and Dominic Mysterio for the Intercontinental Championship in a Fatal 4-Way at WrestleMania. Santi, what was your reaction to that? And do you think Braun is dropping the title to Penta or to Dominic, since those seem like the top two favorites?
Oh, Denise. You already know my answer.
I know your answer
is Dominic Mysterio. They've already been setting it up, ladies and gentlemen. If you've been buying your Dominic Mysterio stocks like a good boy, like I've been telling you, you're about to become a rich man or woman at WrestleMania, because Dominic Mysterio is going to win. Not only that, they're setting it up for him to be the one to pin Finn Balor, because Finn Balor thinks that he's not good enough, that he's not brave enough. He belittles Dominic Mysterio constantly, and it's going to be the big pop, because, by the way, he was over with that crowd. The Let's Go Dom chant. He is going to win at WrestleMania and bring it home, folks. He is bringing it home.
Santi,
you know I've sold you on it. You know I've sold you on it.
The story is there. I cannot lie. The story is there. But here's the thing, though. How can I get behind Dominic winning the Intercontinental Championship at WrestleMania when I just saw him lose today to Penta?
It's all just a misdirection. It's all a misdirection right here.
Wait, losing a match is misdirection? He lost cleanly too.
Misdirection. They're trying to get you to look here. What? Oh, and then Dominic's going to walk out as Intercontinental Champion. Just you watch.
Okay, what if Dominic still screws Finn Balor but doesn't actually win? I have a feeling it's going to be Penta.
You can have all your feelings that you want. I have faith on my side, and at this point, my faith cannot be deterred.
Santi's about to bring out the veladora with Dominic's face on it.
I'm about to go on a full pilgrimage to see the Virgen de Guadalupe and leave a couple of candles for Dominic Mysterio.
Santi, you know, you've seen those before, right? Like where they
Oh yeah.
do like the prayer candles for celebrities and stuff.
Yeah.
Oh, if you made some with Dominic Mysterio's face on it, you might make some bank on that.
I might.
We got Sin City Sane here says it's going to be great seeing another Guerrero holding the Intercontinental title at Mania. Let's go, Dom. Get out of here, Sin City. Say you're wildin'. Thank you so much for the super chat. We got Steven Marchuli here who says Carlito earned a bonus tonight. Yo, I think he's done, bro. Rip. He's dead. Thank you so much, Steven Marchuli. That's hilarious. All right, with that being said, I want to go ahead and rewind over to the Gunther Jey Uso segment for tonight because earlier I had said we kind of saw people show some different sides of them, right? And Jey Uso cut probably the most serious promo, or like at least one of the most serious promos he has in like the last couple of months. We've seen him get serious before when he was feuding with Roman, but specifically here, it's been a while since we've seen him get serious. And he basically tells Gunther, I'm not afraid of you. I'm not afraid of you. And I kind of had some moments of this where I think I started to like this Santi once the people stopped chanting yeet in between everything he was saying, because I thought, dude, this does not match the energy of the promo of what Jey is trying to say.
Denise, I cackled in laughter when he's like, hey, Gunther, you put my brother in the hospital. Yeet. My mother was crying. Yeet. You killed him. Yeet.
Who does that?
He's trying to quiet them down. It's like this is like the most important promo of maybe this entire feud, and maybe arguably of Jey Uso's entire career. And the crowd just cannot read a room, just does not understand that they are hurting his promo and not helping it. That's it was a shame because I didn't think it was like an amazing promo, but I saw some people saying it was bad, but I think it was because of the crowd. I feel like the energy of the crowd was not what we needed to get out of this this promo. But this is what I wanted. This is the exact type of subject matter that I wanted out of Jey Uso, the exact type of demeanor. And it's just a shame that the crowd was not able to play along to help in that demeanor.
Yeah, it was taken away rather than adding, and that was the part where once they stopped yeeting, I was able to focus more so on the message that he was trying to send in versus the comedy of the contrast of the serious promo versus the good time, fun times, yeets and whatnot. Here's the thing though, I kind of wanted Gunther to say something. I felt like it felt a little incomplete where Gunther didn't say anything, he didn't act on anything, he didn't get physical, none of that. It felt like Gunther the whole time was just standing there. And I get it. I get that's why they did it, to make Jey Uso look good and they tried to tell us that Gunther's a little worried, right? That's the point that they were trying to sell us on. I can't buy it. I cannot buy that Gunther is legitimately worried or concerned about Jey Uso not being afraid of him.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I guess for me the biggest takeaway was that it was more about Jey than it was about Gunther. That the switch has been flicked for the Jey Uso that we need to be able to buy and believe that he can actually beat Gunther. You know, no yeeting through the crowd, none of this happy-go-lucky stuff. But I get what you're saying with the Gunther side of things. It would have been nice to kind of hear his thoughts on Jay's new demeanor, the fact that he's not afraid of him. But I still feel like it was a successful promo, all things considered, what it needed to accomplish, which was more about Jey than it was about Gunther in my eyes.
Yeah, and I think the only other thing that had me going like, huh, okay, that's interesting, was when Jey Uso said that he was afraid, he had been afraid of Gunther. I never thought he was afraid of Gunther. I just thought he doubted himself against Gunther. So I did think that part was interesting, the element of, hey, I used to be afraid of you, but I'm not afraid of you anymore. I think I would have kind of liked the description being something along the lines of what you did to my brother. There are no more doubts in me. There are no fears at all because I'm going to get revenge. His blood is on my hands and that's what I'm going to do. So, I mean, there was some tweaks, but whatever. It was fine. It was a different side of Jey Uso. And we needed that because you want to show layers. You don't want him to just be the yeet guy. You want him to come across as, relatable in a different way than just the yeets. All right, let's see what we got here. We got Sucho here who says Dom and Fid should split the belt like Lay Cool. Oh God. David Primero here says Paul Heyman needs to be in a shark cage at Mania. That would be pretty hilarious, actually. Thank you so much, David Primero, for the comedy there. All right, with that being said, let's keep it going. We had the LWO versus the Creed Brothers and El Grande Americano, and it was actually a really fun matchup
Really
here.
good match.
Right, so fun. But this all led to El Grande Americano and Creed Brothers getting the win because they cheated. They put like a piece of metal in Grande Americano's mask, and so that ended up allowing them to get the victory. But here's the thing: during this matchup, Rey Mysterio gets up on the ring apron, tries to call out El Grande Americano. He like headbutts him, takes him out, and so later on, we find out that we have a new WrestleMania match added to the card. Rey Mysterio versus El Grande Americano, and I'm really excited about this match.
I'm pumped too. I hope they make it mask versus mask.
They should.
With them making this so much about how El Grande Americano is insulting the way of lucha libre. There's something that's not being talked about enough, though, Denise, about this match being properly confirmed. Because I thought in my heart of hearts that this was going to be the route for Chad Gable to get on the WrestleMania card, and I think it's kind of criminal that Chad Gable is missing out on another WrestleMania back-to-back years where the crowd is like fully behind Chad Gable. They want to see Chad Gable, and people wanted Chad Gable and Gunther last year. People wanted Chad Gable versus Rey Mysterio, and then yet somehow, and granted, legend, love him, fantastic man, El Grande Americano, but he just got to the WWE, and him getting this opportunity over Chad Gable, it's a little bit disheartening. I'll just say that, like to have him miss another Mania.
So you're saying the new toys are stealing from the ones that have been there all along hustling.
Clearly, WWE does not value tenureship and being there day in, day out. They
It's
just
Chad
want
Gable's fault, though. He's been calling in sick every single week. You can't be
Let-
calling in sick right before the biggest work day in WrestleMania.
and that's
on
fair.
him.
That's fair. You know what? You're making a good point when you bring that up. Maybe Chad Gable should have stepped up a little bit more to the plate, but I just can't help but feel sad.
Well, you know what? I do not feel bad for Chad Gable. Stop taking so many days off for being sick, or your replacement is just around the corner. And it's El Grande Americano. All right, we got Bob Ross Jr. who says, yeah, I actually got fired for that reason. I guess my boss hates WWE trading cards in a Santi video.
Brother, that was a 51-minute video. You deserve to be fired if you're out there spending 50 minutes hiding from work, all right? That was a 51-minute video.
Yo, that's wild. Bob, thank you so much for the super chat. All right, with that being said, let's see what we got next here. All right, we actually got to get into Io Sky, Rhea Ripley, and Bianca Belair. This match has been made official finally. It's been like forever.
Yeah, about time.
The big thing that really happened here was, once again, Rhea and Bianca, they get into each other's face. They try to disrespect Io once again. Io seems like she's walking out. She comes back in. She drop kicks Rhea from behind. So, like, Rhea takes a nasty bump right into Bianca's face. That was actually pretty brutal. I did like that. But how'd you feel about how they laid this whole entire thing out, and what you saw and heard between Rhea and Bianca specifically?
Bianca's promo was great. I really like that. It's funny because there's a meme of this guy that's like, why are you booing? I'm right. It's Bianca. Bianca is literally saying everything that is right, that is correct, and yet people refuse to see Rhea Ripley as the bad guy in this story when she very much clearly is. So I really like the frustration in the voice of Bianca Belair and the things that she was saying. I'm glad that she didn't let Rhea Ripley talk. Like, no, you've done enough whining and it got you onto this match. You're done talking. But it was cool seeing Io Sky stand tall when these two have just kind of been like little broing her over the last little bit. More than anything, though, like finally, like we've been overcomplicating this. We've been unnecessarily stretching the lifeblood of this feud just for the sake of it. This should have been announced weeks ago, but it's about time.
Yeah, that's kind of how I felt about it too. I will tell you this much though. I feel like coming out of this segment, I'm starting to think that Io Sky is retaining at WrestleMania. Just the way that they have disrespected her week after week, like no matter what she does, they still keep pushing her off to the side. It obviously the story is again between Rhea and Bianca. So I'm almost getting the feeling that Rhea and Bianca will go on and be a main event, whether it be at Evolution 2 when they decide to do that, or whether it be at SummerSlam, however the timetables turn out, right? That's what that feels like. It feels like no matter what happens at WrestleMania, this is not a story that's over yet. I think this is the beginning stages of an even bigger story between Rhea and Bianca. So that's why I'm kind of seeing a scenario here where Io actually does retain.
I agree. I think you're pointing it out. The only reason why I'm not picking Io like right off the bat, even though when I make my predictions, I'd probably go Io, is I do think that they want this Bianca Belair WrestleMania streak to keep going.
I wanted to. I really wanted
I do
to.
too. I do too, but I also want Io to win. So I don't
What
know.
do you want more though?
I'm an Io Sky enthusiast, shall we say, un aficionado. All right, so I'm going with Io Sky, no matter what.
See, and I feel polar opposite because you can win a championship, right? Sure, it can happen. She's been a champion before, but having a WrestleMania streak doesn't happen all the time. And especially for, a woman and for Bianca. Plus, I'm also a really big Bianca Belair fan. So there's that too. So that's like part of me would rather see Bianca's streak continue. But just given based off what I'm seeing in the story, it makes me feel like Io's winning. But if you had me choose gun to my head, easily pick Bianca Belair's streak to remain.
Yep, yep.
Alrighty, with that being said, I think we got really one more thing to get into. The War Raiders defend the WWE World Tag Team titles against the New Day. And the New Day's win via DQ. It was a little messy by the end of that. A little messy, but I think for the most part, given the fact that the New Day have been talking so much about how they want to go to WrestleMania, they want a WrestleMania match, I think the writing was on the wall that, hey, they are going to be doing a WrestleMania matchup for the New Day. That's where I'm assuming that they're going to get the titles there.
Meh. This was maybe the most meh part of the show. You know what made this unnecessarily more meh? Tony on commentary. He's got the most nasally voice on commentary. Michael Cole, your hairline, it looks like it's on the road to WrestleMania. Oh my God. I couldn't listen to this segment. It was insufferable. That's just me though. But I
No,
have human
I
ears.
don't like that guy. I just heard about him recently, and after things I heard about him, I was like, I am not a fan. And then I heard his voice on the commentary, and I'm like, yeah, no, this is not for me.
Yeah, the voice
Out.
is what was killing me. And like the match itself, I thought this was the weakest match of the night. I'll say that. All the other matches were better. LWO match with a great Grande Americano, the Lyra and Bayley match. I thought those were all better than what we got here. I thought this was weak. I guess New Day and War Raiders WrestleMania. Sure, it feels like a filler match if you ask me.
I actually thought they were going to do like a multi-man tag team match. That's what I thought was going to happen. But I think I do kind of prefer them doing the War Raiders and the New Day just two on two, just so that it just going to, I think the match will actually hit. Because even what we saw here, I know it wasn't the best thing of the show, but what we did see, I did find myself enjoying between
Sure.
the War Raiders and the New Day. So I think once they actually go all in, then it'll be a lot stronger of a match. So I think it has like really good potential. We got CJ here who says, do you think they're turning Bianca heel because fans won't acknowledge her as a heel? Maybe Sky pins Rhea and Bianca Belair goes mad and attacks Sky. I feel like the fans are sort of turning Bianca heel in a way where the way that they're reacting to her, like we were saying today, like they're still booing her, even though, like you said, she's right in the points that she was making. And I thought that today she came across as more angry, right? Like the less positive Bianca that we're used to seeing. She was more upset and more
Mhm.
feisty in her promo today.
Yeah, I think they maybe for this feud she continues to take on that role a little bit more, but I don't think it'll be a full-fledged heel turn. The reason I say that is because we need babyface Bianca for when she crosses paths with this evil Naomi. We do still need babyface Bianca so that we can get to that feud.
Oh man. See, I'm just like, I feel bad because I feel like the crowd is so invested in wanting to turn Bianca heel that even though again she's still technically a baby face, it's just I feel like they're forcing her into that role. It's just happening. CJ, thank you so much for the super chat. We got Jim here who says contract seg was good, but Tiffy time 0-3 still. So you're feeling like oh, yes, the 0-3 line with the divorce line. Yeah, that was crazy, man. Oh my God, what a day. What a
Ludwig
night, man.
did you watch Ludwig in commercial? Just pretended like it never happened. It's
Dude,
like, brother, we know what
thinking
you tell us what we want. Tell us what we want.
Yes. I was wondering if he was going to allude to the Charlotte thing at all, and he did not. And I'm like, all right, so that's the same promo that we've been seeing Ludwig Kaiser cut over and over in all of these segments.
Yeah,
So,
I went from I was like, all right, you've got my attention for 20 seconds. If you don't mention this, I'm done. I'm gonna go take I'm gonna go to the bathroom, take a nice leak. All right, during this commercial break. Because all I care about you right now, Ludwig, is your accusation about your DMs. Release the DMs, Ludwig. Release the DMs.
So, yeah, by the way, release the DMs. We got Sin City State here who says, I think Biggie gets involved at Mania to screw New Day. They really were pushing the neck attacks in that match. I don't know. I it's really hard for me to go there right now because again, I just I'm still expecting Biggie to be out. If he gets involved, I'm not expecting him to get involved in a physical manner. Thank you for pointing that out. We got Stephen Marchuli who says, what if Paul Roman turned back heel at WrestleMania, leading to a singles program with Punk for SummerSlam? Hey, man, like I said, I'm all here for that. I'm all here for that. As long as I get me Roman Reigns versus CM Punk one-on-one. Thank you, Stephen Marchuli. All right, there is one more thing that I can't forget to talk about, actually, and that is AJ Styles and Logan Paul's match. But obviously not yet. That's the WrestleMania match. But AJ Styles did have a backstage confrontation with Karrion Kross, and Karrion Kross goes in there and he's telling them, you really, really need to win this match. And we need to see the other side of AJ Styles. And I'm thinking, why? Why are you making it seem like AJ Styles sucks? Why is he making it seem like AJ Styles stinks and he's going to lose against Logan Paul?
You just don't like Karrion Kross.
I don't like the character. No, I don't. And that's why I'm like, okay, at least give me something where I'm sorry. It's just not anything that is exciting, and it was confusing. Why are you going out there making it seem like AJ Styles is not good? Why would you think he's going to lose to Logan Paul like that?
Yeah, I don't get what he's doing. The whole you have to win for us. I don't know what that means. This is also like the first time in like months we're getting a Karrion Kross match. Okay. That's about
match?
Next week it's AJ Styles Karrion Kross.
Oh, yeah. They made it in the segment, duh.
Yeah. They made it in the segment, and I'm like, all right, I guess.
You see, you tell me that I don't like Karrion Kross.
I was like, I was just glad more of an excuse to get Scarlett on screen. I was like, yay, Scarlett.
That's a pro.
That is a pro for everybody. But the match, I'm okay. Thanks, I suppose.
All I'm going to say is this, Santi. It is not fair that you call me out for not being a Karrion Kross fan, yet I have not heard you say one redeeming quality just yet.
It'll come. Maybe. I don't know.
All right. I'm waiting for it. All right. We got Bob Ross Jr. here who says, Santi cost me the job, so Dijak needs to teach him a lesson. Also, we need need Denise on the weekly match along. Let's go. Let's go. Man. Bob Ross, thank you.
That was rough, Bob. You shouldn't have lost that job, brother, because it's going to be rough finding another one.
Oh, poor Bob Ross. All righty, guys. Well, there you have it. That was WWE Raw today on April 7th. That was the show. Santi, tell the people where they can find you.
Just laid it into poor Bob Ross. People can find me over on Santi's app. Just put it in Google, choose your platform of choice, whether it's Twitch, YouTube, Instagram, Twitter, whatever it might be. You'll find the platform that you like.
All right, guys. Same for me. YouTube.com/Denise Salcedo is my main place, but I'm on social media. We got a super chat here from McTaro who says, stop calling Denise out, Santi. Thank you. Finally, someone's on my side. I was feeling alone here. Thank you, McTaro. All righty. Well, there you guys have it. That's the show. Thank you guys so much. We'll catch you here next week. Bye, everyone.